those examples of an ascended guitar tech. He presented his demos to the guy from Tool, saying he'd really like a female vocalist for this, and Maynard said, "I can do you one better," and volunteered himself. That makes for a perfect circle, and don't let the Tool proximity put you off. This band is quite pleasantly compartmentalized, and Maynard even has a separate approach for it. As a singer, he brings a more androgynous and seraphic vibe, and that's atop this quite complex and distinctive alt-rock. I'd say it's obviously more sensitive than Tool, but I think we shouldn't necessarily compare it to Tool, just call it its own band. First album's called Merdinome, which is French for shit name. I think that's unfair. I think it's an alright name. Brilliant stuff, but it's not exactly perfectly sequenced. There's an overwhelming amount of medium-paced triple-time material, and that energy-free last track doesn't really need to be there. But for a debut, this is very widescreen. I mean, you can see that they're all experienced musicians. It's presented as a more complete product on this second album. It's got more of a sense of sequence. It does everything right in the way that second albums often do. This varies up the material a bit, and one of the great strengths of A Perfect Circle is how, yeah, they're a heavy band, but that heaviness often incorporates a softness as well. There's more of a unified theme in here, so more of a consistent vocal message, more to listen to. This is a masterful album. The third one is a funny one. It's a covers album, but musically all of the songs are rewritten basically beyond recognition. If the lyrics were stripped from these songs, you could just call them new songs. I think that's an interesting approach that's worth its duration. I think it's always a rewarding listen, but its particular nature as a covers album is going to place it underneath. Now it gets messy. Billy's first solo album was published under the name Ashes Divide. Written and produced and engineered by him. Maybe some other writers contributed a little bit, and there were other musicians on it. Still an auteur kind of album. Billy's voice really isn't that bad. I mean, it's not that far from Maynard's voice. He could have been the Perfect Circle singer this whole time. I think I relate a lot to this solo song construction. I can hear myself in it a bit. And it's all impressive one by one, but maybe the single, The Stone, overwhelms the rest of it. That can go here. A lot of time passed before a new Perfect Circle album. Maybe it's the big build-up that made this one a contextual letdown, but if you listen to it track by track, apart from that interminable last track, that's a bit of a Maynard career habit. It's this majestic and immersive rock, just like A Perfect Circle should be. I think there's flaws in its overall medium pace and petty lyrical themes. Maynard's got some strange vocal quirks at this point. Can't exactly commend this one without an asterisk, but it's still worth it. I've seen them live once. I don't know if it was just the venue, it was a god-awful venue. But it's a very aloof performance. Maynard famously is at the back of the stage, and there's nothing interactive about it. And actually, two of their best songs they chose to play remixes of rather than the actual song. And then a new one credited just to Billy, not Ashes Divide. This is quite a diversion, not an unprecedented one. It's that time when a really talented guitarist picks up synthesizers and decides he's now a synth dude. Not always a good idea, it is a good idea here. It's kind of consciously retro, and even his voice now sounds like Depeche Mode. But I think that serves a function because now there's a version of Depeche Mode without their really clunky lyrics. It's not cringeworthy to listen to. I'm really going to struggle to compare this to the Ashes Divide album. That had good songs, this has a good overall feel. But I think I'm placing it here. What a talented and symphonic composer this guy is. The career of A Perfect Circle looks very messy in the long run, but when you boil it down to the records, it's a very satisfying listen. Oh, but then there's that CD and DVD release. Okay, I did have that at some point. The video content was not good, all these clips from a really misogynist movie. but it came with a remix album, which doesn't sound promising, but as far as remix albums go, this one was really good. Several of those tracks transcend the definition of remix. If that was released in a CD-sized case, I'd probably still have it. I think apart from top and bottom, these could easily rearrange themselves a bit. It's quite tight. And even at the bottom is a very worthwhile listen. You can often tell with A Perfect Circle that the music was composed before it had a vocalist, so it already sounded complete without. There's something cinematic about the scope to it. It's an intellectual version of alt rock, and it still hits hard.